There was a night I sat on my bathroom floor at 2 in the morning, completely broken, and the only words that came out of my mouth were, "The Lord is my shepherd." I didn't even know why I said it, but something happened when I did. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly what that something was. If you've ever felt lost, scared, or like the walls are closing in on you, this video is for you. Today we're going deep into Psalm 23. Not a quick reading, not a surface-level explanation. We're going to break it down piece by piece, so you understand why this one prayer has carried millions of people through their darkest nights for thousands of years. Stay with me until the end, because the last part of this psalm is the part almost nobody talks about, and it might be the most important part of all. Let's start with the problem. Most people read Psalm 23 like it's just pretty words. They hear, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want," and they move on with their day. But that's not what this psalm was written for. It was written by a man named David, and David wasn't sitting in a comfortable house when he wrote it. David spent years of his life running from enemies who wanted him dead, running through deserts, sleeping in caves. Before he was a king, David was a shepherd boy, and he knew what it meant to protect sheep from wolves and lions with his own hands. So when he says, "The Lord is my shepherd," he's not saying some nice little church phrase. He's saying, "I know what a shepherd does for sheep, and God does that for me." Here's the problem so many of us have today. We try to be our own shepherd. We think if we just work harder, plan better, control every little detail of our life, we'll finally feel safe. But that's exhausting. You can't sleep at night because your mind won't stop planning. You feel alone, even when you're surrounded by people. You feel like no matter what you do, something bad is waiting around the corner. That feeling, that constant tension, that's what happens when we try to carry a weight we were never meant to carry alone. David felt that weight too, and instead of pretending he had it all together, he wrote this psalm as a reminder to himself and to us that we don't have to carry it alone. So let's go through it slowly. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Think about what a shepherd actually does. A shepherd doesn't just watch the sheep from a distance. A shepherd walks with them. A shepherd knows when a sheep is sick, when a sheep is scared, when a sheep is about to wander off a cliff without even realizing it. Sheep are not smart animals. They wander into danger without knowing it. And that's us. We wander into bad decisions, toxic relationships, unhealthy habits, without even realizing where they're leading us. But a good shepherd notices. A good shepherd steps in. When David says, "I shall not want," he's not saying he'll never face hard times. He's saying, with a shepherd like this watching over me, I don't have to be afraid of running out. Not out of love, not out of provision, not out of protection. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. This part is about rest, and I want you to really sit with this for a second, because so many of us have forgotten how to rest. We live in a world that tells us rest is lazy, that if you're not busy, you're falling behind. But sheep cannot lie down and rest if they feel unsafe. If a sheep senses a predator nearby, it will not lie down, no matter how tired it is. It will keep standing, keep watching, keep running on empty. Does that sound familiar? Have you ever been so anxious that you physically could not relax, even in your own bed? That's what happens when we don't feel safe. But a shepherd who protects the flock gives the sheep permission to actually lie down. Green pastures don't happen by accident. A shepherd searches for that grass, walks the sheep to it, and stands guard while they eat and rest. Still waters, not rushing rivers, because sheep are afraid of fast-moving water. A good shepherd finds the calm water, the safe water, and leads them there. This is a picture of what real peace looks like. Not the absence of problems, but the presence of someone strong enough to make you feel safe in the middle of them. He restores my soul. This line hits different once you've actually been broken down by life. Restoring something means it was worn out, tired, used up. Have you ever felt like your soul was just tired? Not your body, your soul. Like you smile on the outside, but inside you feel empty. David knew that feeling. Kings, warriors, shepherds, mothers, students. every single person on this earth reaches a point where their soul feels drained. This line is a promise that it doesn't have to stay that way. Restoration is possible, not through more hustle, not through more effort, but through connection with the one who made you in the first place. He leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. This is about direction. A shepherd doesn't just protect the sheep, the shepherd leads them, guides them. Sheep don't know the best path on their own. They need someone walking ahead of them who actually knows where the good grass is, where the safe water is, where the danger is hiding. How many times have you made a decision because it felt right in the moment, only to look back later and realize it led you somewhere painful? We need guidance, not because we're stupid, but because we can't see the whole picture the way a shepherd standing on a hill can. Now, here comes the turning point of the whole psalm. This is where it shifts from calm to real, raw honesty. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Notice something. David doesn't say, if I walk through the valley. He says, even though, because he knows valleys are coming, dark seasons are coming, loss is coming, sickness is coming, heartbreak is coming. This psalm doesn't pretend life is always green pastures and still water. It's honest. There are valleys. There are shadows. There is real darkness in this life, and pretending it doesn't exist doesn't make it go away. But look at what changes in the middle of the valley. David doesn't say, I will fear no evil, because there is no evil. He says, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. The presence changes everything. It's not that the valley disappears. It's that he's not walking through it alone. Think about walking through a pitch-black room by yourself compared to walking through that same room, holding the hand of someone you trust completely. The room is exactly the same. The danger, if there is any, is exactly the same. But everything about how you feel walking through it is different. That's the shift this psalm is pointing to. You will have valleys. That's not being punished. That's just being human. But you were never meant to walk through them by yourself. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. A shepherd carried two tools. The rod was used to fight off predators, wolves, lions, anything that threatened the sheep. The staff was used to gently guide the sheep, to pull them back if they wandered too close to danger, and sometimes even to correct them. Both of these were comfort to the sheep, not because they were soft, but because they represented protection and correction working together. Sometimes what feels like discipline in your life, a hard season, a closed door, a painful lesson, is actually the staff pulling you back from something worse. It doesn't feel comforting in the moment, but looking back, you can often see it was. Now we reach the climax of this psalm, and this is where it takes a turn that most people miss completely. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Stop and really think about this image. A table, set with food, in the middle of a battlefield, in the presence of enemies. This isn't David saying God removed all his enemies. His enemies were still there, still watching, still surrounding him. But instead of running and hiding, David describes sitting down at a table, calm, provided for, unbothered by the threats around him. That is such a powerful picture of peace that doesn't depend on your circumstances changing. Real peace isn't waiting for every enemy, every fear, every hard situation to disappear before you can feel calm. Real peace is being able to sit down at the table even while those things are still standing right in front of you. Think about your own life for a second. What table have you been afraid to sit at because your enemies, your fears, your worries, your past mistakes are still standing around you? What if you didn't have to wait for all of that to disappear before you could feel steady again? You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. In David's time, anointing with oil was a sign of honor, of being chosen, of being set apart for something important. And the cup overflowing isn't just having enough, it's having more than enough. Abundance. Not because life became easy, but because provision was never actually dependent on the circumstances in the first place. And then we come to the ending, the part that ties everything together. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Notice the word follow. Goodness and mercy are not something David has to chase after, hoping to catch up to them one day. They are following him, right behind him, every single day, even on the hard days, even in the valley, even at that table surrounded by enemies. Goodness and mercy were never far away. They were following the whole time. This is the part almost nobody talks about, and it's the most important part. This psalm isn't a promise that your life will be easy. It's not a magic prayer that makes every hard thing vanish. What it actually promises is presence. Constant, never leaving, walking beside you through green pastures and dark valleys, alike presence. And if you've made it this far in this video, I want you to really hear this. Whatever valley you're walking through right now, whatever table feels surrounded by enemies right now, whatever tired, worn-out state your soul is in right now, this psalm was written for exactly this moment. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to fix everything on your own tonight. You just have to remember, like David remembered, that you were never meant to carry it alone in the first place. Let's slow down for a second on that word, dwell. Not visit, not stop by once in a while when things get hard. Dwell, that means to live there, to make it your home. David isn't talking about a quick prayer you say when you're scared, and then forget about the second things, feel okay again. He's talking about a place you actually live in, day after day, good days and bad days, both. A lot of people only reach for this psalm during the worst moment of their life, and that's okay. That's exactly what it's there for. But imagine what it would feel like to carry these words with you every single day, not just the day everything falls apart. Think about how differently your week would go if every morning you woke up and reminded yourself, I have a shepherd. I am not walking through this day alone. Someone is preparing a table for me, even in the middle of my stress, my deadlines, my arguments, my worries about money, my worries about my health, my worries about the people I love. That's not a fairy tale. That's a different way of walking through an ordinary Tuesday. I think about David's life again for a second, because it helps put all of this in perspective. This man wrote about green pastures and still water, but he also spent actual years of his life hiding in caves, hunted by a king who wanted to kill him. He lost people he loved. He made huge mistakes, some of them public and painful. He knew what it felt like to fail completely and still need to get back up the next day. And somehow, out of all of that mess, this is the prayer he left behind. Not a prayer asking for an easy life, a prayer thanking God for staying close through a hard one. That's the difference between the prayers so many of us grew up hearing and the prayer David actually wrote. We asked for the storm to stop. David thanked God for walking through the storm with him. We asked for the enemies to disappear. David talked about sitting calmly at a table while they were still standing right there. That shift from asking everything around you to change to trusting that you're not facing it by yourself. That shift changes everything about how you handle hard seasons. So here's a question worth sitting with after this video ends. What is your valley right now? Maybe it's something huge, a loss, a diagnosis, a relationship falling apart. Or maybe it's something quieter, a tired soul, a mind that won't stop worrying at night, a feeling that you're behind in life and everyone else has it figured out. Whatever it is, this psalm was never meant to just be words on a page or something you read once in church and forget. It was meant to be picked up and carried, especially on the days that feel the heaviest. You're not asked to be your own shepherd. You were never built to carry that weight by yourself. And honestly, trying to do it alone is probably a big part of why you feel so tired right now. There is rest available. Not the kind that requires everything around you to calm down first, but the kind that comes from knowing you are being watched over, guided, and protected, even in the middle of the mess. Goodness and mercy are following you, right now, today. Not because your life looks perfect, but because that was the promise from the very beginning. If this meant something to you, hit subscribe because there's a lot more where this came from.